VimBiz, true integration of scheduling, rentals, and engineering. Thank you for joining us live at NAB in Las Vegas.
Just waiting for my
Scheduling to time tracking, presented by Tom Levesque and Laurence Paradis-Bolduc.
Well, here we are, live in Las Vegas. Good day, everyone. My name is Alain Arsenault. I've recently joined VimBiz after a career at the CBC in Canada. So CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I've worked with them for 30 years. They're a public broadcaster. There are public broadcaster in Canada. So I've produced and directed many projects with as little as 3 people to a crew of 40 and more. You need production staff, hosts, various types of technicians, and that's only the part of it. You need to schedule these people efficiently in order to run a smooth production. So it's kind of like building your house. You can't have the electricians come in before you have that framing done, and the framers can't come in before the foundation is poured. So then once you find the right crew, every single one has a specific work rule depending on their experience, skill, and collective bargaining agreements. So the following demo will focus on how VimBiz helps media companies streamline the scheduling of their technical and human resources and allow all the employees involved in a production to track their actual hours worked using an easy-to-use interface on mobile or web. So this man has been with the company for over 14 years, has been witness to every variation of media needs in detail. He has seen it all, almost all, from the small town of the Valley of Love. It is Valley of Love, New Brunswick, Canada, population 400-ish, Tom Levesque.
Thanks, Anna. I think you overestimated. We're about 100. Joking. Welcome, people in attendance, people online. We're very happy to present today our scheduling and time card solution. So, as Anna mentioned, it's very comprehensive operation that you're managing. A lot of moving parts, a lot of resources that you have to manage. And today's demo will really take you through from A to Z the typical tools that our planners use in VimBiz. VimBiz is a suite of integrated solutions. So engineering is everything that touches equipment assets. The entire life cycle of your assets can be managed in VimBiz. Some of our customers also have an internal rentals operation where they check out and check in gear. But today, the focus on today's demo is obviously scheduling. We'll see how planners can schedule their employees using Shift Templates. We'll see how they can schedule productions by scheduling facilities and planning roles. Roles are basically the skills that employees need to fulfill. We'll also see that all these events that you're creating in schedules are tied to production project for cost tracking purposes, obviously. And the end of the demo will focus on actual time tracking, which can be tied to a payroll system. So many of our customers have selected VimBiz through public tenders. It's the case with these national networks that you see at the top of this PowerPoint slides. But even though they selected VimBiz for scheduling and time cards, many of them have expanded their use of VimBiz and are now managing their assets and internal rentals operation as well. More recently, we've replaced ScheduAll in Canada and in Italy. It's a project that's very natural for us to replace a solution like ScheduAll simply because there's a lot of similarities, familiarity in VimBiz. It's modern interface. ScheduAll users know scheduling real well, so it tends to be a project that's very short in time for us to do. And some other customers that you see on this slide have selected VimBiz mainly to manage the logistics of their equipment. So we're very proud that VimBiz is used in 10 different countries, but without further ado, I'd like to go straight to the program. I'm going to start with a tool that we call the Team Shift Scheduler, and the main purpose of this form or this scheduling tool is to quickly create schedules, maybe long-term planning, your typical 8 to 5 p.m. shifts, or short-term planning like news department will use this tool, and just by looking at the color of the shifts or the abbreviation will quickly see that they have the personnel covering the shift that they need to cover on the day. So it's very easy here to fill these blank days. For example, it's a drag and drop operation. I'm using pre-configured shift templates here, or I can move a shift from an employee to another. For example, here I have Brenda that's been overworking too many consecutive days. So a big part of scheduling human resources in VimBiz is the respect of contract rules. Your employees can be configured with their contracts with special working conditions, and planners will get warnings if they break those rules. And I'm just going to schedule some days off here on poor Brenda Miles has been working too many consecutive days. I can also go and use week templates to be a bit faster here and schedule weeks at a time. Just gonna remove the filter here so I only see my journalists week template. Again, same thing, some drag and drop, and I'm creating schedules very fast. Why not multi-weeks, right? So here I have an example of a rather complex rotation that a planner probably took, several hours in creating. We've all seen these colors, right? When we work on a team's rotation. Why not let VimBiz apply this rota to the team? And really that's the concept here. So to demonstrate this quickly, I have a rota team there of 4 employees. Just gonna go a little bit in the future, make sure there's no schedules at all, so I can demonstrate this tool. Just gonna open up my Rota Shift Templates tool, and I have a 4-week Rota. So you can see here that my team of 4 employees have already been assigned to this rotation. I will apply it starting May 6th. And the Rota does a lot more than just applying shifts. Like, for example, if it detects that an employee is on vacation, not available to cover one of those shifts, what's going to happen is that the shift will be placed on a virtual employee by default, so that schedulers know that they need to allocate that shift on an employee when the team was not able to fulfill the full rota, or if as a planner I make a mistake, I select the wrong date, or I need to change something in my rota, I can basically override the shifts that were previously applied by the rota, and the rota will be fixed accordingly. So now if I go back to my team shift scheduler and just zoom out and refresh, I basically scheduled these this rota automatically. VimBiz applied the different week templates on a week-by-week basis. Now, let's say here as a scheduler, I just received an email that Michelle asked for some vacation time, and let's just simulate that using my mobile app here. So Michelle had started a vacation request. She wanted some time off in May, and she added a note there, pretty please, right? Of course. And she'll just submit this request. Well, visually, not only will I be notified as a manager that Michelle has sent me a vacation request, but visually I would also see that something's up on that week. So if I would go ahead and process that request, what's going to happen again is that the shifts that were to be covered by Michelle that week will automatically be placed on a virtual employee, and I will know that I need to fulfill that week with another employee later on in May. But the vacation that she's requested has become her schedule that week. The other screen that I want to cover in today's demo is the resource scheduler. This is much more similar to other scheduling tools you might have seen out there, like ScheduAll has a very similar horizontal calendar in their tool. If I take that as an example, you're basically scheduling resources here, such as technical facilities. For us, a facility can represent an equipment, can represent a production area or editing suite. I have some OB trucks here. A very interesting integration that we offer here is with our service module. So let's say that you see HD1 and HD2 are highlighted in red here. It's basically because within these trucks, I have equipment, and maybe at least one equipment has an open service request on it. So maybe I have some technical issues with that facility. I may go ahead and schedule it nonetheless, but at least I'm warned that there's a service request on one of these equipment within the facility, and I could even dig a bit deeper there. If I sort on the SR column, I see that the problem is with this very specific camera, and I could even go ahead and look at the service history of that camera and see what's really going on. And if I know as a planner that I can still proceed with that studio nonetheless, or that OB truck nonetheless, I just go ahead and I schedule it. So let's say I need an editing suite here. Creating an event is very simple, so I can zoom in one day here and create that event by simply dragging the pencil over. It's going to automatically open up that event. And here as a planner, I could basically select the production project. Normally a production project will be pre-configured with a cost center for cost tracking purposes, and that's automatically populated here in my event. Now this particular edit suite was pre-configured with what we call a booking type, which is basically a reusable template, but that booking type can contain roles. It contains one editing role that needs to be fulfilled by an employee, right? But imagine a big studio production or OB truck production. You could have dozens and dozens of crew members that need to be assigned within this facility, and it's all pre-configured in that template that you can reuse at any time. So if I need that edit suite to be booked on every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next couple of weeks, I can quickly copy this event and ask for that to happen. So basically in this calendar, I will deselect Tuesday and Friday and basically say, okay, I want to paste that over Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next couple of weeks, and I'm all done. So what I'm doing as I'm planning facilities and roles, we often hear the term unnamed planning, right? Like I don't know yet who's going to fulfill the editing role in my example. We have a tool that's specifically designed to do the allocation of these unnamed roles, and I'll show you that next. But before I do that, I want to show you that in the resource scheduler, I could also work on a per project basis. we have the concept of production projects in VimBiz, which can be categorized by what we call master projects. So here I have some documentaries, I have some promos, I have my VimBiz productions. A VimBiz project can be further broken down by project tasks to simplify the management of that project. Imagine I have hundreds of lines here representing the various different resources that are working on that production. I can break it down by smaller pieces, which we call production project tasks. So again, another example of needing an editing suite for that project, but I don't know, let me just remove this flag here and refresh my screen. I don't know which edit suite is available, but I know I need an edit suite tomorrow. Well, I can leverage that concept of resource groups that we just saw and say, hey, I'm going to add them all to my project, and I'll see which one is available, basically, right? And I just pick the first one, I create an event, and I'm done with it. Now, upon saving out of that event, what's going to happen is all the other edit suites will be gone, because when I work on a project, I just maintain the resources within the period that I'm working in. I only see the resources that are assigned to my project for that period. Make sense? Okay. I talked about shift templates earlier for employees. It's very powerful that you can create schedules very quickly. The next tool I want to show you is something we call multi-day templates, okay? I'm going to go a little bit in the future here. I'm going to select September 16th. Okay, here's the setup I have. I have created a group of projects called VimBiz Productions, and I basically have no resources at the moment on any of my projects. The group itself contains several productions. You can clearly see here. I have many, many VimBiz projects. I have pre-created a template right here called VimBiz Productions, or all VimBiz Productions. It is quite comprehensive. It contains virtual facilities because I don't know which TV studio will be scheduled yet. It contains virtual edit suites because I want to request an edit suite, but I don't really care which one I'm going to get. Or actual facilities. I know I want TV1 or this light kit. Maybe virtual employees because I don't know who will fulfill these roles just yet. Or actual employees. So a combination of all the different type of resources pre-configured in this one template that I can reapply whenever I want, because the type of productions that I'm working on is very repetitive. So me applying this multi-day template starting on September 16th for 1 week will basically create all these scheduled events for me. So the notion of templates in VimBiz is pretty much everywhere, but this multi-day template, you can clearly see the power of it. Especially when you work with repetitive productions. Okay, I talked about unnamed planning earlier, right? I don't know which resource will actually be doing the work. And I talked about a tool that we designed to help with the allocation of these, let's call them requirements, right? And my colleague Stefan actually had a demo before me today that, that covered our business requirements module. So I may get requirements coming from different areas of VimBiz. The business requirements module that my colleague covered earlier is all about planning the resources ahead of time, studying how much it's going to cost me. So budgeting, quoting, evaluation of resources. But then when I submit that business requirement, I'm automating the creation of scheduled events on virtual resources. And the business request allocation form was designed to very quickly assign these events to actual resources. So if I look at these employee events here, and I can, play around with the height of my rows and whatnot, and I select all these 5 events, and I will see at the bottom, so the yellow lines, my requirements, the bottom gray lines, my resources. Easy, right? If I refresh my screen, VimBiz will filter and only show me who's qualified to fulfill the events that I have selected. And then I can basically do a drag and drop, and I've assigned these events to this employee. Now, this employee had events already, but they were available type events. Think of that long-term planning that I talked about earlier, right? Your typical 8 to 5 p.m. shifts. You're just saying, okay, if I have a requirement that's at 8 a.m., I'm not going to book the employee that was scheduled to work at 4 p.m. It's just logical. So the advantage of doing long-term planning is just that. You see that they're scheduled, but they are available for work. In fact, one of my filter here says only show me who is available. So when I select a role event and I press F5, yes, I see that there's an event, but it's an available type event. It's just like a standby event. So I know I can assign that event to that employee, and the assignment will basically replace the working event or the standby event, right? Another thing that I want to show you in this form it's a very popular form amongst our customers, because imagine I have a whole bunch of requirements like so. I can use this panel to filter out. So let's say I only want to see requirements on my VimBiz in the Future project and VimBiz Next Gen. So I select one or multiple projects, and now the color coding will tell me which event is for which project, but I'm quickly filtering out everything else, and I only pay attention to this. Or here's another example for you. I only want to cover camera operators requirements, and I also only want to see people that can cover camera operators requirements. So very quickly, I'm filtering both panels, and now the assignment is very, very fast, because I know that the people that I see at the bottom can fulfill the requirements I see at the top. I can push it a little bit further and say, hey, yes, I need a cameraman in this role event, but I also need a cameraman that has special skills. So the requirements can be very, very detailed. I need a cameraman that can lift high, a strong cameraman. There we go. Let's just put it that way. So I select that skill. So now, if I select that role event and I refresh, nobody's qualified. Okay, well, let's fix that. Let's pretend that Bruce here has that skill. So each employee in VimBiz will have a profile like this. The profile will not only determine the roles that they can fulfill, but it will also determine the skills they have. So if I go in there and I add a skill to this employee, that physical skill, and of course you'll be managing all the skills that you want to associate to your employees, and I repeat that example, well, now that employee will appear because he is qualified for the job, okay? Now think about this a little bit more. We have requirements. They're very well defined and they're extremely detailed. We have employee profiles that are also very well configured, very detailed. Can't we automate all that, right? I mean, we have all the information. Why not? Well, that's one of the big projects happening at VimSoft right now. We call it ScheduBot. And the concept of ScheduBot is basically to not only look at the requirements, not only look at the profile of each of my employee, we push it way more than that. We also look at the employee contracts, the working conditions that we need to respect. An example would be, I need to respect 8 days off per month. I cannot allocate more than 10 consecutive days. I need to respect encroachment, 11 hours between 2 shifts. These are real rules that I need to respect as a planner. The engine will respect that. So the engine will collect all this data, and when it does its allocation automatically, you can basically measure the result and see that all rules are respected. We believe that's the future of scheduling. Now, I've done scheduling of facilities, I've done scheduling of human resources. Now I want to cover what's next. I normally publish employee schedule. They need to know when they work on a daily basis, don't they? All right. Because until I publish a schedule, the employees cannot see what I'm doing as a planner, which in itself is an advantage, right? You can keep changing the schedules until you're ready to publish. Now, the team scheduler was designed to help planners avoid very expensive rule breaches, let's call them that night, right? So I have an employee contract that I must obey, And if I break the rules, I am warned live on the screen. I can see here that I've created overtime on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's fix that, okay, by adding a meal event. So you can see that the warnings disappear. Actually, I have a second event here. Let's delete that one. Okay, I have fixed that issue as well, although I do have a 0.25 overtime here, but broadcasting, media industry, sometimes we have to create overtime. It is what it is. Another rule that I want to show you, I've created on purpose an encroachment rule breach, and I, again, am notified on the screen. Now, this screen has a lot of components to it. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we help schedulers that have very complex scheduling operations by giving them counters, ensuring that they're scheduling enough hours on their employees and whatnot. This is a big part of VimBiz, human resources scheduling, because it is complex. It is, it's a lot more difficult to schedule employees than it is to scheduling facilities. I think we all agree on that. A TV studio does not take meal breaks, but employees do. And employees have those rules that you have to respect every day. Now I'm publishing this schedule. I can type in a note here. I can notify the employee by email. I can send an SMS text to the employee. If we have the mobile app of VimBiz. We also support mobile notifications so that you see on your mobile telephone that you've just received a new schedule has been published. So the last step of my demo, once a schedule has been published, you might have guessed it, actual time tracking. Okay? So up to now, I have helped the planner not commit very costly mistake. But it is what it is. Sometimes I have to break a rule because I have no other resources, and which is fine. I just want to show you what's going to happen when a rule was broken like that. VimBiz, if I open that time card, will look at the published schedule, and it has the ability to automatically calculate the codes that the payroll system requires. So for example, that 25-minute or 0.25 overtime that I created on Tuesday, you can see a claim for that overtime already. The encroachment breach that I created, I have a claim for encroachment, and on Thursday, I have a premium of 4 hours because the employee worked very late that day. If I keep on changing this, right, the employee had to stay longer on Monday, worked overtime on Monday, maybe the employee was asked to come earlier on Tuesday. Ariana had a very busy week that week, or a very busy week. She even had to come in later that day and work on a different production. Maybe on Friday, she was asked to work until 1400. VimBiz will protect her. Hey, wait a minute, you can't have an overlap. Oh, yeah. So my afternoon shift obviously started at 1400. So when she's done changing all these actual times, her time card clearly doesn't balance, but that's okay. Ariana can basically make her time card balance, and it calls that engine, that rules engine that automatically calculates those codes that the payroll says, hey, Mary Ellen, how are you? Good to see you. It automatically calculates these codes ready for the payroll system. So once that time card is submitted, of course, it has to go through an authorization process before it hits the payroll system. Make sense? Okay. I pretty much covered the entire part of scheduling down to time card. Now what I'd like to do, yes, is have a little fireside chat with my colleague, Laurence Paradis-Bolden. So I'd like to invite her over because I want to talk about a very important topic. She's one of our implementations manager at VimSoft, and implementing enterprise software is very complex, takes time. And I mentioned at the very beginning of my presentation that VimBiz was an ideal solution to replace ScheduAll. So for all ScheduAll customers out there looking for a replacement, what can they expect in terms of how long it takes to replace ScheduAll with VimBiz?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the client. So our solution is already in production, so we don't need to do new development. And it's very familiar to the current schedule workflows. So it's basically based on your training. So if you want to move fast, it can be as early as 3 months. If you want to take your time, do more, process, trial and error, basically in the app, trying to put your business processes in, configuring. We're here to support you, basically at your pace.
Okay, and I really want my ScheduAll data in VimBiz. Do we have an importation tool for that? Or?
Yeah, we do. We're trying to minimize the amount of development needed. So even from importing data, we have all the tools to do that automatically. We have APIs to integrate with your systems. And then, again, it's just about configuring your business workflows that we have.
I mean, these concepts are applicable to any other customers, right? ScheduAll or not. We've replaced Excel solutions too, right? I mean, we all know about those. Obviously, the team that is involved on both sides is extremely important too. What is it like to work with the VimSoft team?
Well, it's actually pretty interesting because it's not just a partnership between two parties. It's actually a multifaceted partnership. So right now, our clients meet on a monthly basis to talk about their business problems and see with each other how they solve those with the app. And also, if there's new business problems that we haven't solved yet, then we all work together to learn from each other and to see how we can fix that together.
Implementing a solution like VimBiz isn't like, I don't know, implementing Office 365. It's an enterprise software. What would you say are the pitfalls to avoid, the mistakes to avoid when you're implementing a solution like VimBiz?
Well, actually, I've been doing that for about 7 years now, working with enterprise clients to implement enterprise-sized apps, basically. And one of the main things I've realized is you can have the perfect solution out there, and if you don't have the proper rollout and change management and stakeholder buy-in, it's likely going to fail. I was actually reading a research down on that from an ERP consultation firm, and they were saying that it's a 67% success rate to implement an ERP system in an enterprise. And all of it has to do with process management, process changes, stakeholder buy-in, communication. So what we're doing here is really building our whole implementation process around 3 pillars, which is change management, and we help you through that, proven processes for the implementation, and stakeholder buy-in, but not just high-level stakeholder buy-in, just at every vertical and horizontals. Everyone that needs to be touching the app directly or indirectly is going to need to be involved in the process.
I get it. The right solution, but also the right people.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Laurence, and thanks everybody for your participation. We really appreciate your time, and we hope you enjoyed the demo. We're here for questions. We come and see us. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Hope you like something you like. Saw something you like. Yes. Good.
It actually does.